Every home has its silent battles, sometimes about money, sometimes about love, but oftentimes about something both simple and complex, such as raising children. I feel like a stranger in my own home is more than just a complaint. It is the cry of a father whose voice is fading away. What happens when a mom and dad don't agree on discipline? When one says sit down and the other says stand up. The child learns more than disobedience. They learn that authority is negotiable and respect can be broken. This gripping story unfolds on our YouTube, Apple, and Spotify platforms. Experience the tension, the drama, and the question that lingers long after the story ends. Because when parents clash over discipline, no one truly wins. Hello, my wonderful, delicious family. It is a brand new episode of Hello Delhi, the place where your heart is safe, your story is respected, and your case is treated with care, confidentiality, and compassion. Here, you are not judged, you are not silenced, you are heard, valued, and supported every step of the way. Before we open up, let's ground ourselves with our quote for the day. A little germ to light the path ahead. When two elephants fight, the grass often suffers. And of course, that's a powerful African proverb there.
Hello, hello, hello. Audience, Delhi. Hello, hello. Tune in now, no delay, no delay, no delay. Hello, Delhi.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Just about time for us to get into our case for today. This case is coming from a brother who has issues with a wife regarding discipline. He writes, "Hello, Mommy Delhi. I hope this meets you well. I'm a silent follower, but I appreciate you for the relentless efforts you help the youths of Africa. I am turning 34 and I've been married for 7 years now. I love my wife and we have been blessed with 2 adorable kids, all boys. My main issue is my wife won't let me discipline the kids the way I want. Each time I want to discipline the kids, she jumps in and starts saying I shouldn't. Mind you, I have never beaten my kids. When I say discipline, I mean kneeling, less TV time, punishment corner, or just scolding. One time I even asked my kid to kneel and she left the kitchen and even came where we were and asked him not to. I was so embarrassed that I couldn't even say anything and my child listened to her. My wife thinks her parenting skills are always the best or better than mine. I've started noticing my first son is very recalcitrant. My wife and I work, so we have a nanny. I overheard my son being rude to the nanny and I tried discipline. And again, my wife came to defend my son over the nanny, despising me as the father. This has gone on for too long and my marriage is almost breaking because of it. Yet, she is so unbothered. I feel like a stranger in my own home and it hurts me terribly. What would you propose I do? I will appreciate your wise counsel. Please hide my ID, though my wife is on this page." My oh my. I mean, this is as heartbreaking as it can get. It's as disheartening as it can get. But it's quite an interesting case, and of course, we are going to get into every detail that has been presented to us. Now, one thing I must say before we get into the nitty-gritties of our case: respect is the backbone of every home. Now, once it is broken, love begins to suffer, authority weakens, and the children grow up confused about who to honor and who to dismiss. Now, my dear brother, I really do salute the fact that you come for counseling. You're feeling like a stranger in your own home is the worst thing that can ever happen to you as father or husband, making you small, and it feels like you do not have a voice. Matter of fact, your voice is gradually fading away. Now, let me first of all say this, and this is what I've noticed over time, right? In many homes, today's homes, respect is slowly losing its weight. Children are beginning to question authority. Discipline is branded as, harsh, as abuse, and even within marriage, the lines of leadership are blurred. Now, why is this happening? We're going to get into all of this. The one thing I must insist on is that no matter the generation or culture, respect has always been the foundation, keyword, foundation that upholds the family together. Without which, the home may stand, but it will not thrive. So it's a whole lot of houses out there, a whole lot of homes, but are they thriving? Certainly not. Why? Because the lines are getting blurred every day. And to you, my dear brother, I really do applaud your courage. Because you know why? Men who speak up and see the need to fix their homes or sort out counseling are usually regarded as simps. They are seen as weak. They are seen as unwise people. But I'll tell you, it is a wise thing to do. And you are strong enough to protect the legacy of your family. This is mind-blowing, and I'm hoping by the end of this show or this episode you would have had the desirable counseling and solution that you need for your case. I'll see you after the break.
With MoneyFX, sending money home just got faster. Enjoy top exchange rates, low fees, and transfers that land in under 10 minutes. Whether it's school fees in Cameroon, hospital bills in Nigeria, or family support in Ghana, MoneyFX makes every transfer count. MoneyFX, fast money transfer when it matters most.
Welcome back, my delicious family. It's just about that time for us to dive into the deeper aspects of this very powerful case. It is a story of respect. It is a story of authority. It is a story of silent battles within the home. Now, remember something. The goal is for me to uphold a mirror just so you can see your case beyond your excuses. But before we unravel it together, don't forget to like this video, share it with somebody who could learn a thing or two from it, and hey, let's have your comments in the comment section. You know how we do it. Do not forget to subscribe on our YouTube channel just so that you do not get to miss an episode of Hello Delhi. Now, here we have a loving husband and a caring dad who has been deprived from carrying out his fatherly duties of discipline. Then on the other hand, we have an overbearing wife standing at the center of her kids and her husband. Then here we have the innocent kids caught in this confusion set by the parents. Now let me start off with a wifey. Now I would have assumed that, it is because maybe you're a very strict person, maybe you're too brutal, maybe you're abusive. I rarely use the word abuse, but when I use it, then I'm very intentional about it. If that were to be the case, then of course I would get the wife. As a wife, I would want to stand up, for the kids. As a wife, I would want to strike a healthy balance. As a wife, I would want to tone that aspect. But of course, you have said that no, you have not been abusive. You have just done the needful. You've not used the rod of correction, which is in itself not a bad thing. But you've not used it, because again, people talk about abuse when you start using the rod of correction. But hey, I'm old school, so I'm very much still with that. Okay, there's need for it. I think it has its place. But let's keep at it. You have not done all of this. You've just tried to be a parent based off of what you said, and a dad, an awesome dad, and it is being restricted. And it is not just about being restricted. The manner in which it's been done. And then again, in front of your kids, I kind of understand it. Maybe not completely because I'm not a man, but I know what that feels like. Now, while I try to understand her part on being so protective, because of course there have been situations where in a bid to discipline kids, some parents have taken it overboard and we've had kids unalived because of such things. However, I think based off of what you've explained, it is a bit too extreme. Now, it leaves me thinking, and this is well, maybe not, maybe putting ideas in your head, or not putting ideas in your head, but just stating it for what it truly is. Could there be a chance she is trying to pass on a message to you that you are not in the rightful position to discipline those kids because they are not yours? Now, this is a bit extreme, I know, because we women, we could be cheeky, we could be funny sometimes with how we pass on an information, not necessarily directly, but indirectly, so you can do the maths. Again, this is me having a wild guess, because of course I say I would make assumptions where there's need for it. So let's keep that aside, okay? Don't ponder about it, but again, it's something to ponder about. I don't know if I'm making sense, but that's an option to think about. Now, one of the things I would pick out from here is gross disrespect and insubordination. Now, it's so disheartening when your wife disrespects you. That men crave for respect all the time. I want a woman that respects me. But even much less in front of the kids, to the extent where, the kids are beginning to stand up against you. It sounds categorically to me like what we call witchcraft, because we always say that witchcraft is not just flying in the air, right? Things like this would get under the category of witchcraft. And this is something that couples could really understand, except in abusive situations where it can outrightly be determined that one or both partners are abusive towards their kids. It will be okay to stop your partner in that light, but it would never be okay if it is just them having their own side of discipline. Ladies, understand the importance of the father in the life of your children. I cannot overemphasize on this. The importance or their role does not necessarily outweigh theirs. Now, the thing is that sometimes mothers would think, okay, they can play both roles, and I've always stated this, that you can only be a mother and do so much. You can never play the role of a father and play it as much as a father would do, regardless of their excesses. So understand, there are distinct ways that we parent, the fatherly side and the motherly side, not just to provide, but equally to nurture. So the father is there, he's providing, he's nurturing, he's leading, he's protecting, and then he is disciplining. Now, when you fail to acknowledge the masculine touch that is needed in raising kids, you easily think that you can do it better or play both roles. A lot of women make this assumption, and it is really unfair. Now, this goes both ways. Fathers and mothers are both critical in the development of children. And if you raise without one, regardless of your upbringing, understand that you missed out on a great deal. Now, this does not mean that if you're raised by a single mother or a single father, you don't turn out a good person. One more of orphans who turn out awesome. I'm saying that if you minimize the importance of one, it will be there. The aspect that one parent had to play would be glaring, it will be missing. Now, if we understand this, we would insist, regardless of our differences, to have our partners be part of this role or the upbringing of our kids. Now, while both parents will be protective and disciplined, there is a huge difference in their approach and their outcome. Now, this is what research has proven, right? The father produces a hormone known as vasopressin. This vasopressin, I did learn this from a counselor, and this is what she said, that vasopressin is a protective, aggressive hormone which helps the father to protect their families. Now, on the other hand, the wife or the mother's own hormone is not protective and aggressive. It is more nurturing and empathetic. And so while we see these differences, it's necessary for both to blend for a proper upbringing of children so we can have a healthy balance. Now, this is a study that was carried out, okay, and an experiment was done based off of child upbringing and the different ways in which parents raise kids and how their approach toward nurturing differs. Now, this is it. I learned this from a psychologist, and this is how she put it. She said, now, two parents laid in bed while the baby cried. The father slept all through the baby's distress, while the mommy woke up immediately. Now, on the other hand, the experiment was repeated. Now, when leaves were rustling out there, you know how you get sounds of wind or just heavy sounds out there. and the mother slept all through while the father woke up. So this is because fathers are attuned to predatory threats, while the mother, on the other hand, is sensitive and empathetic. When I say predatory threats, what do I mean? That if something is seeming like there's so much danger, if there's something that looks like combat, father's instincts would automatically kick in. But if it looks like there's need for pampering and then sensitivity and empathy, a little bit of sympathy here and there, the mother's instincts would come on board. So you see, these two are very important because, hey, it strikes a perfect balance and a healthy parenting, nurturing skills for the kids. And nurturing hormones are different. And so it will be unfair to rate a partner's nurturing style by your own standards. And this is what is happening in this case. So when this mother looks at herself, she thinks she's the one that can do it, just like the man is alluding. I can do it better. As much as we often don't say it, or the men would not complain too often, but this is what we technically do. Maybe not just limiting it to parenting, but maybe to other things. And it is taken for granted. Now, this is one of the major reasons why it is difficult for a single woman to raise a masculine son, and equally difficult for a man, a single man, to raise a feminine daughter. I said difficult, I didn't say impossible. Because for the most part, sons raised by single women tend to have feminine touch, feminine tendencies, while daughters raised, on the other hand, by single fathers, they tend to have masculine touch. Hence, there's need for both to come together to blend. And that's why kids should be had in a healthy environment in marriage, just so that they can have a touch of both worlds and have the right mindset regarding upbringing. So the next thing I talk about is breaking his ego. You've broken the ego already up to this point. And like I said, it's not just about this sister in this story. It's every other person listening, every other woman listening. When you do that, you've broken his ego. I said something the last time. The main thing that breaks a man's ego is the thought of him competing for the attention of his wife with another man. The second thing that breaks a man's ego, and I say this in my estimation, is the lack of belief in him and support for his vision. That could be vision for the family, vision for life, vision for just anything, even parenting. And if at any point in time he feels like he's not having the support of his wife, it breaks him. It breaks his ego. A man can have the support of his family, his mother, his homies, his siblings. In fact, the entire world could be chanting his praise. But if he lacks the support of his wife, matter of fact, that belief in his abilities, it breaks him to the core. And so I say this just so that other women could understand, especially what happens when they do all of these things they do. Now, moving forward, when did this start? Because we have to touch on that. Now, it's often said that a journey of 1,000 miles begins with a step, right? And this is what is starting. So when you take one step, you could ignore it and think it does not really count. But no, it does matter. Now, her role as the final referee did not start overnight. Now, this is what I also want, where I want to strike the balance. It likely started with small unresolved corrections. So when you asked her to take maybe just your plate after eating, she despised you and said, you know what, take that, you've eaten and stuff. Now, this is not me saying I'm limiting it to that particular aspect. I'm saying that it matters a great deal how your partner responds to your style of correction and discipline. And you have to pay attention, especially during courtship. When did it start? I like to think it didn't just start from parenting. You dated, got married before the kids started. You must have noticed these things. And sometimes in trying to be, especially the men, they would be like, you know what, let me not start up a fight. I just want peace, peace, peace. But that peace, sometimes it's to the detriment of their own selves. Because if you look at this case, like we're saying, it did not just start from when you had kids or when the kids were grown enough to need discipline. Each time you stayed silent, it gave her the unspoken permission unto she now openly overrides you in front of the children. It could be that the real issue is unrelated to parenting. Another thing is, could it be that, the real issue is unrelated to parenting? She is just using this parenting to express a deeper frustration that is hidden in resentment. meaning that she has failed over a while to confront these things earlier, and then it's allowed her, and now the behavior has escalated, and then the repercussions is the home where authority is blurred, and then conflict is in public, and the children learn that disunity is normal, that it's okay to say no and get away with it. It's okay to flaunt your orders as a father and get away with it. Could it be that? Again, I'm making assumptions because I'm not too sure of what is transpiring. On the other hand, childhood traumas, sometimes it is actually a reflection of how we were raised. We want to parent the way our parents parented us, forgetting to understand that we have a different setup. Sometimes our parents had the perfect parenting, but then our kids have different personalities and the setup is different. So we might want to tone it down or, again, spark it up. Now, kids who grew up abused and they've not healed from that, we should underscore the fact that there are loads of people who have been abused, but then they've healed from it. So if you are replicating abuse in your own parenting style, that might just translate to the fact that there's a void in you, you've not healed, and that's why it can be seen. So kids who grew up abused could actually replicate that, meaning that they could be overly defensive and they could take extreme positions, protective over their kids to the point where they miss out on the necessary discipline, and on the other hand, overly abusive on the kids because that's what they saw their parents do to them. That could be a possibility, so you want to look into that. Now let's talk about the children, right? And there's hardly much I would say about this. Why? Because they are already getting used to the fact that their mom's voice echoes louder than their dad's. Now most kids have the natural fear for their dads, or at least the stricter parent, and in this case it's the dad. What is happening? If a kid can stand up to challenge the parent, challenge the nanny to a considerable extent is a parent. Because of course, without the parents, the nanny is there to do one or two things. And the nanny considerably has a level of discipline that could actually be meted on the kids. Now, we are talking about within boundaries. We are not going outbound. We're not saying you can just do anything because you are a parent, or no. We are within the limits of what a healthy discipline pattern is. And this is what these children do not understand, sadly, in the presence of their parents. So let's talk to the father. And like I said, I really salute your vulnerability as far as the case is concerned and what you've presented. It is so disheartening. And I can only imagine to what extent this has gotten before you could seek, a third party's advice and so. But again, all hope is not lost. Let's look at some details you talked about, okay, that I want to point you towards. It's like I said, I'm making a lot of assumptions because you're not here to fill in these blank spaces. Beyond discipline, how present are you in the life of your children, like in their daily lives? Do you play with them? Do you talk with them? Are you available to take them out? Do you share their small joys, their concerns? As a father, clearly you're doing your most to provide for them. But then again, fatherhood entails much more than that, and I'm trying to see the fact that you are bringing in discipline because yes, you should bring in discipline, but sometimes the discipline could be at a time when you've not observed or monitor a pattern that is going on, and because this child has been amassing all of these things for a while, that's why this child could try to defend themselves in front of the nanny, because again, that could be something that he has missed for a while. It could be a pattern he has faced, and thinking my dad in this situation would rather take my side. I'm just trying to point at the fact that presence matters as much as presents matter. You see the difference? So when I buy presents for my kid, my presence should also blend in that, and it's as important. So these things could be happening. They understand that they are kids. So when they tend to see their mother carrying out a whole lot of burden, maybe care, maybe standing for them, maybe fighting for them, in her own way, not necessarily the right way, they are growing up to believe more in that side. You see, so they tend to fear, they tend to respect, they tend to panic when mommy is speaking, because again, based off of experience, their mother is more present. Again, I'm making assumptions here, but that could be what is happening to other marriages or other situations, and that's why I have to bring all of these different angles So we're talking about the presence of a father in the life of the children, which extends or far exceeds even the gifts that you would bring forth. Now, the next thing we want to talk about is the role of the father as the head of the family. A father is not only a provider. We've already established that. He is the one who sets the order. He sets the tone. He carries the authority in the home. When you say you can't speak, it shows me clearly that for a while you have been stepping back, you have been silent, and it has become your defense mechanism. And over time, this silence has made you doubt yourself, and is slowly eroding your authority until your children are beginning to see that the father is not present. Your children are beginning to see that our daddy is not as strong, so I can, I can flaunt the others and I get away with it. So that in itself matters a great deal. I need you to begin to look at the leadership, that it is not disputable. It is a position that God gave you, and you carry it with so much grace, because it is only you in that setup that can do that, and they need it. So it's not just something that you wake up one day and you want to do it, it's more like just a chore. It is a leadership position that God has given to you, and it should not be usurped by anybody, not even the mother, because you have rights to it and the family needs it. Without it, it's a journey of no return. I like to touch on your legacy as the mentor. Your sons are watching you. A boy needs his father. We already made mention of that. The father has to be present in his life as his first mentor, not the mother. We should always remember this. As a boy especially, you have two sons. That leadership, that mentorship mindset, that goal-getting mindset, the fighting mindset that is necessary to make a masculine man should be seen in you. I'm not talking about a terrorist. I'm not talking about a dictator. I'm just talking about a man who understands his masculine power. The one who teaches respect, who teaches the discipline that is needed, the one who takes responsibility, the one who is the first role model, showing what true manhood looks like. And if your authority keeps being undermined, guess what? He learns that fatherhood is negotiable. My mother can do it. Have you seen kids who have grown up like that? My mother is the one doing everything, my father. No. In this case, you teach your son, and especially the first one you said is becoming so recalcitrant, that fatherhood is non-negotiable. And in most African traditions, a father's respect is a son's inheritance. I need that to sink inside of you. So if you're going to lose that legacy, it will mean that you are not only fighting for others today, but you're also shaping the man that your son will become tomorrow.
Amazing. You would agree that this meticulous analysis highlights 7 crucial issues impacting our homes and children's future we would love to spotlight before seeking for solutions. 1. Undermining wives create confusion. A wife undermining her husband's authority creates domestic chaos, eroding unity and peace, and negatively affecting children. 2. Fathers' roles are unique and essential. Fathers are more than providers. They are protectors, guides, disciplinarians, and spiritual leaders, vital for children's self-esteem and security. 3. Silence gives permission to disrespect. Ignoring disrespect validates it, allowing negative behaviors to escalate rather than resolving them. 4. Unresolved conflict can be a deeper issue. Unaddressed conflicts indicate underlying problems, leading to resentment and destructive outcomes if ignored. 5. Children learn from parental disunity. Children internalize parental disunity, learning unhealthy coping mechanisms or mirroring conflict patterns. 6. A father's presence is more than just discipline. A father's presence includes emotional availability, listening, encouragement, and wisdom, fostering security and character. 7. Legacy of authority shapes future men. Parental authority models influence future generations, shaping sons into wise and loving leaders or perpetuating negative cycles. The answer is coming, and it's happening right now. Hold tight and let's ride.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. About time where we get into the proposed solution for today, and I'm hoping that you take a thing or two from what I would be saying. Now, the first thing I would propose is, I say this to every other person, not just to you. Is there a part of the blame I take? Now, this is very important because when people come for counseling, they might just say the things that would suit them. Sometimes they say the things that they want the counselor to say. But I always say that if you truly want a way forward, it starts by being honest with yourself and even before the counselor. Now, this is not for you to come back to me, but it's just for you to do an inventory of, everything you've explained and everything you've heard us talk about. If there's a part of it that you play, and if that's the case, then of course you know what to do. You just fix it, you just turn around. But if it's not the case, then let's move on. So the next thing I would say is for us to check where her frustration is coming from, which is leading to the protest that is happening. Because again, women could be dramatic, Sometimes we just want to tell you that we are angry by acting it. Now, I'm assuming, I'm not saying that's what's happening, but then that there could be a chance to it. Her behavior may also be a form of frustration. So if she feels unsupported in daily parenting, maybe she's carrying out emotional load of homework, talk, routines, and she feels like the workload is too much. She goes to work, you both go to work. She comes back, and at home, she's the only one that, helps with the kids, runs around. Then that frustration is piling up. And then she feels like, let me communicate without communicating. It could be, again, like I said. Now then she's protesting by undermining you in front of the kids, which again, we've established that it is so wrong. But let's see how to lend a hand, because by lending a hand to her could bring about a solution. Because again, we're taking it gradually. So let's start from there. Now, the next thing I would say is that communication matters a great deal. So many times you would have couples come for counseling. Then when you talk to them and you delve deeper into whatever it is they're talking about, you realize they've been talking to every other person but themselves. So what is the essence of communication? Here, call her up in a private space, keyword private space, and you plainly express how you feel. You're expressing how you feel, how bad it's been, how terrible you felt, how less of a father and a husband you have been with the way she has been going about the discipline thing. That's a trick. I always say that when people communicate, they should communicate in the language that their partners would understand. And that's what we call love languages. So if you wake up, for instance, your wife's love, there are loads with the 5 different love languages Gary Chapman talks about. So is it act of service? Is it that she feels you should get her a gift? Is it that she feels you should give her more words of affirmation? Is it physical touch? Is it quality time? Their love languages matter a great deal. And if you're communicating with your partner, it is not about you screaming. It is not about you speaking in a low tone. It is about the language that they best understand. And given these 5 love languages, your wife's own should be in, and you should understand it. So when you want to pass on a message that is not so kind, if you use one of those languages, it is going to outshine anything you would possibly have said screaming or using force. The analogy of love languages, I might talk about it in a different episode, but understand that it matters a great deal. Just imagine that you love somebody who is from a different tribe, and then that person only understands their own language. But then you love this person. How do you communicate when you do not understand that person's language? You would struggle. You would do everything. You would even somersault. Sadly, the person would not understand. Why? Because you're communicating in a language they don't understand, or you, at best, don't know how it's spoken. So know your partner's love language and communicate accordingly. I like to think that it would do good. But moving forward, if that does not work, then she's adamant to listening to you and whatever it is you are saying, because there's a chance that could happen, get someone that she respects. I find it difficult to understand that a woman would not respect the husband but respects other persons, but then it happens. So if she has reverence for maybe her pastor, maybe her mother, maybe her father, a friend, just anybody that she's very keen, or even somebody that she considers a role model, get to speak to her. She might get to understand and listen better, because again, communication styles differ. If she still doesn't listen to that person, then again, there should be, this is the next point, ultimatum that you issue. I always say that the authority of a man is not negotiable. The authority of a husband is not negotiable. When you've gotten to the point where your wife is seemingly usurping your position, you want to stand up, man up, like I put it, and insist on your grounds, because there's no how you will let her have her way. Otherwise, what you're saying is that I might leave my children to suffer, because we don't see that suffering now, but you want to leave your children to suffer and suffer the repercussions of it. And this is something they would hand down to their own children just because you wanted to pamper the ego of your wife. You wanted to tolerate her excesses. So I insist, when they say man up, this is when I say man up. Stand up and issue an ultimatum. I like to think that any woman who wants to keep her home and has gotten to the level where the man is giving ultimatum would adjust. Let us say she adjusts at this point. You would have to insist on your parenting skills. You would have to tell her what is standard as far as discipline is concerned. You would have to insist on the fact that you would have a say as far as raising your children are concerned, and it must not be the same as hers. She must be able to see that there's something I would lose if I do not toe the lines that have been put in front of me. That's the ultimatum I'm talking about. That's the authority I insist that you establish. Another thing I would love to talk about is you communicate with your kids without rage. Sometimes, just like you've communicated with your spouse, as I proposed, your kids need their daddy to communicate to them in a language that they also understand. One thing about kids, they love gifts. Every kid will love gifts. What kind of gift are you getting for them? How do you lure them into, receiving this gift and, telling them the importance of it? That in itself will just bring a very conducive environment for your kids to have a conversation with you. That is when you smuggle in what you would have wanted to tell them, maybe screaming, being frustrated. They would understand much more because they have a toy in their hands and they think, this is the reward I get to be a good boy. Now, I'm not saying that we pamper them with that and spoil them. Again, within the boundaries, the right boundaries, and you understand what I mean. So I want them to see you in a state where you're not angry. I want them to see more of a loving father than just a disciplinarian. Because again, like we've established, if you have to only show up when you have to discipline them, they will be frightened and they'll feel like they are not loved, because kids could always interpret discipline as lack of love. Be a present daddy. We already talked about that. Be there for them, support them, listen to them. Sometimes take turns with your wife. Go to their schools, hear what it is they're saying. Sometimes just take them out, man to man. This is me grooming you up as a guy. That there are some things your mother will not teach you. And you start implanting those seeds, that masculine energy in them as early as they are. Trust me, kids don't forget such things. You will remember what their dad did, how you made them feel at a point when their mom was not around. I'm talking about you establishing your fatherliness, your manhood, your masculinity, the masculine energy that is needed for male children to thrive. And then again, I always say this, prayers matter a great deal. There are times when we've come to the end of ourselves. I say this as a Christian, but again, I always say that this is an optional point, so I'm not sure because it's other people listening to me. And so when I talk about prayers, you might want to discard it, might want to consider it. Prayers, there are times when we've gotten to the end of ourselves and the only thing we can do is turn to the one person who understands marriage proper. Could it be all you need is take it to God in prayers? This might sound religious, but there's power to it. God is a present help in times of need, meaning that you need Him, you ask Him. You might be shocked with how much the Holy Spirit ministers to your wife, even more than you can possibly do. That is what marriage is all about. There are times when our spouses would need extra help. And maybe this extra help will come directly from God because He is there and just waiting for you to say it. So please, if you don't mind, you want to toe the part of prayers too. This is the most I could come up with as proposed solutions, and I'm hoping that you've had a thing or two, and those at home listening equally would have drawn one or two lessons from this. And hey, I'm hoping that this is your last buster. When we come back, we would get into the comment section where we get to get some comments, insightful comments from some of our delicious. Don't go nowhere.
Now that we have a clear explanation of the solutions, however, don't let it end there. These profound insights and proposed solutions are merely the beginning. Words without action amount to nothing. It is imperative that we translate these principles into tangible efforts and consistent practices within our daily lives to truly realize their transformative potential. Mummy Deli's solutions for a clearer path. 1. Unity is power. Strength comes from shared purpose, collaboration, and collective effort, allowing families and communities to overcome challenges and thrive together. 2. Bond beyond discipline. Build deep connections based on trust, empathy, and open communication, fostering love and respect over fear and resentment for lasting harmony. 3. Deal with the root, not the leaves. Address underlying causes of issues for effective, sustainable solutions, rather than just treating symptoms. 4. Lead with presence. Be fully engaged, attentive, and genuinely caring as a leader, modeling behavior, offering support, and making individuals feel valued to foster trust and belonging. These insights are just the start. Action is crucial for transformation.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. About that time where I get so excited to read comments from my delicious. I'm happy that you all stopped by to chip in a thing or two, just so I'm not the only person talking. So we have, couple of comments here, insightful ones from Mbo Solange. That's our first commenter. Hello, Mbo Solange. Thank you so much for dropping a comment. Mbo Solange says, Papa, your voice should be louder than hers. When she asks the child to kneel and she refuses, act like a man. Warn the child not to stand, and if he tries, use a cane. Later on, call him and talk to him. Wow. So Solange is she's a no-nonsense parent. She's saying that if you try it, it does not work, and she's trying to, discard your authority, use a cane. Yes, there's still a cane of correction, and I'm of that school of thought. But of course, I know the limits, so it still matters a great deal. And of course, Solange is part of that opinion. So we have Kalaji Stephanie Claire. Hello, Kalaji. How are you? Kalaji says, this is wrong. Have a deep conversation with your wife. She has to be on your side always. Exactly. As parents, you both have to have a united front, or else the children will start seeing you as the mean parent. Exactly. Solange is saying that you are one. You are meant to be a team. You're meant to be parenting together. Bring your own strength. She brings hers. And then these kids will look up to both of us. But when it becomes one person is more of this and that, at the end of the day, just like Stephanie is saying, they're going to start seeing you as the mean parent, like the one who is nothing to write home about. Third commenter, Amy Stanley. Amy Stanley is saying that your wife is also your daughter, so treat her like one at times. Wow. Make sure to be at the defeating side as the man of the house. Ooh, this is tough. So, your wife is also your daughter? I'm just hearing this from today. Like, okay, but I get what Stanley is trying to say. Stanley is saying that you are the head. Every other part is underneath. Meaning that your wife is there under you, under your authority. So be the man up, like I said. And hey, she would have no choice but to pull the line. And the last commenter, we have Devin Favor. Devin Favor is saying that, bro, better do a DNA test to be sure that the children are yours. Because I just can't understand why a father disciplining his children should be an issue with the mother. Exactly. Well, I did make mention of that at the beginning, but not that you should start having, thoughts. But then you understand why people would think in this light, because that could be an indirect way of saying don't be too hard, or don't even waste your time because they're not yours. But hey, fingers crossed. This is just as far as it gets, okay? And what it is we're saying has nothing to do with the real situation at hand, okay? So, thank you so much, everybody who commented. And for those of you whose comments did not make it through today, keep on commenting, okay? We'll definitely get it someday and project it just like we've done the others. Thank you so much. Just about time for us to get to the next segment, which is the last and final segment. I love the yummy nugget segment, because again, if you haven't learned anything, please get your pens and your jotters, and this is where it gets even more interesting. Stay with us.
With MoneyFX, sending money home just got faster. Enjoy top exchange rates, low fees, and transfers that land in under 10 minutes. Whether it's school fees in Cameroon, hospital bills in Nigeria, or family support in Ghana, MoneyFX makes every transfer count. MoneyFX, fast money transfer when it matters most.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Time for our yummy nuggets. I love the nugget section. Why? Because yes, it's yummy. Now, our nuggets for today will be all about parenting questions to ponder on before you say I do to anybody. I like to think that parenting starts from dating. So you're meant to put your thoughts together and see if it aligns. And if these thoughts don't align, please, you want to ask these questions, because sometimes all you need would be asking these questions, explaining your own side of, or your idea or your views regarding it, and then getting your partner to align. So what are these questions that you're meant to ask each other and talk about it, ponder about it, get clear-cut answers and responses from your partner before you get into it, as far as parenting is concerned? Number one, what's your idea of discipline? There are some parents, based off of their temperaments and, like already alluded, their childhood, their upbringing, they think the harsh way is the way forward. Others think, it's still gentle, talking to them, pampering them. Some just believe that we have to just pamper kids. Sometimes you look at your parenting strategy and they are antagonistic each other. Guess what? You have to talk, and this could be the reason why you walk away from somebody, because it's that important. That's why we're here. Secondly, what does effective communication mean to you? Yes, because is it screaming? There's some people who cannot speak without screaming. There's some people whose tones are as loud as mine. There's some people who really take their time to communicate. There's some people, whatever it is, that would translate to the way you communicate to your kids. So when I say what's effective communication to you, what does that mean? I need to hear you tell me and me tell you, and we see if it aligns, just so that we know we are raising healthy kids as far as communication is concerned. What are your core values of parenting? What are the core values? Are you the parent who just thinks, okay, it's okay to raise kids, get a nanny, and the nanny would just do whatever, and then we go work? Are you the kind who thinks we can watch any kind of program in front of our kids because it is a modern society? What values does respect matter to you? Is that even a thing to consider? There are loads of values, and if you talk about it and you realize that one person is extreme, get a communication, and if it's not working, it is very okay to walk away. Next question to ponder on. What sort of education are you looking at for your kids? Is it private? Is it general? Or is it homeschooling? Now, these are different, all of them education, but hey, it matters a great deal. So your partner could be thinking about private education because to them, the society will look at me as prestigious, because it could be all about self-aggrandizement. It could be all about, showing off. Or truly, they want a private institution where their kids will really have proper education. The other person, on the other hand, would think general education is light-hearted. You go there, you deal with people around you, you see, come back home where we could nurture you and see what's happening in school, get to know if you're recalcitrant and all of that, and then the school fee could really be moderate. And then there are those parents who think, what, there's hardly anything out there that I cannot teach my kids myself. I'd rather monitor my kids, follow them all, because I think I can do much more than even the teachers out there. Again, like I said, these are all forms of education, but which one resonates more with you? So your partner has to be in line with it. You could start off, I want private, and at the end of the day you say, what, we agree that we would homeschool our kids. And yes, you have rights to that. Next question. When do you expose kids to finances? Think about it. There are some people whose idea of raising kids is to buy them gifts, pump them, give them fun. You see, a child of 10 years is having so much money that they cannot even concentrate on every other thing. While it is good to train kids on how to manage finances from a very tender age, we also do not want to go overboard where kids start seeing value only through the lens of finances or money. So what is your idea? When do you start giving physical cash to a child? Oh yeah, it matters a great deal. When do we start opening an account for a child, and when does that child have access to that account? It matters a great deal. Because on one hand, one parent could be thinking, let them have their way, whatever they want, they could have. Another person could be thinking, until you're getting to university before you have access to finances. Like that. If you want anything, you come to us. This matters a great deal. Next question. When do we expose them to gadgets? Tell me about this generation. In an age and time where everybody is going after money, everybody wants to buy the latest things, parenting has been reduced to gadgets. So if you bought the latest iPhone, you've bought the latest tablet, and you have the biggest flat screen at home, that to you have everything that the kids need. Where do we strike a balance? When do kids have access to mobile phones? When are they grown enough to say, I can manage a phone by myself? Because we cannot overemphasize on the fact that early access to social media through these gadgets have had far-reaching consequences. Some parents on one hand could be like, they should have it. Another is saying, nah. Until you get into the university before you can own a smartphone. I'm not talking about the regular phones where it's just about calling, and those ones could be okay for some parents. But I'm talking about a smartphone where you have access to internet. And remember, when you have access to internet, it means you have access to the entire world. And it goes unsupervised. Now you think about all of that. Next question. What level of friendship is acceptable? Where I go and visit my friends, are kids allowed to go visit their friends and come back wherever they want? Are their friends allowed to come into their house, stay in their rooms? You see these things, you will minimize them, but they matter a great deal. And before long, a marriage is breaking because these questions were not properly asked, or when they were asked, the right responses were not given, and then we moved on because, hey, we love each other. How much of chores? Are we going to leave the house, help the maids or even the parents do the chores? What are the roles? Are we going to limit our kids to, okay, the boy is going to go out there and play football while the girl is at home cleaning? Understand their gender roles. I am of that school of thought. However, what is the son doing while the girl is cooking? What is your mindset regarding that? Just so that we're not grooming one and leaving the other, or raising one and the society is raising the other. Your mindset regarding this matters a great deal. Where will the children fellowship? And this goes to Christians. Sometimes people have been known to get married to people of other religious groups. You could see a Christian getting married to a Muslim, a Buddhist, and stuff. People have their preferences and their choices. Some Christians get married to Christians, but they fellowship in different denominations and they are okay with that. Where would the children fellowship? You see this thing? It matters a great deal. Balancing of kids and the parents. That's the next thing. Where do you strike the balance between prioritizing me as a spouse, you as a spouse, and the kids? Because usually when kids start coming, The moms especially would tend to focus all their attention, which is understood considerably anyways, but they forget who their first responsibility is, which is the husband, and likewise the wife. And so I'm saying, what is your idea of striking a healthy balance, just so that kids do not take the position or the space of your partner and you start seeing that as okay? Now, these things matter a great deal. Parenting is not competition, it's a partnership. When a mother and a father stand as a team, guess what? The children feel both love and structure. Discipline is not hate. Just so you listening to me, whether you're single, whether you are in a relationship or you're married, understand that discipline is not hate. It is guidance. It is a sign that you care too much to leave your child unshaped. And so, my delicious family, a united home builds confident children, but a divided home leaves scars. So let us remember, respect between parents is the seed, and disciplined love is the fruit that raises the next generation. Well, this is where we come to the end of our episode. Hopefully you did enjoy it as much as I did. And to the gentleman who brought his case to us, hopefully you have had your case dissected properly like you wanted. Like I always say, this is your last bus stop. And to the rest of you at home, please do not forget to like and share this video. Subscribe to our YouTube channel so you don't miss out on any of our exciting content. You can also follow us on Spotify, on Apple Podcasts, and on all our social media handles. Thank you for watching. Until next time, I remain your intentional host, Singah. I'll see you around. Cheers.
Hello, hello, hello. Audience, Delhi. Hello, hello. Tune in now, know the